Well, good evening to everybody. If you are in the United States and you are using the Eastern time, I want to say good evening to you. If you are in Liberia, I want to say good night. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast again. Uh, I'm Pastor J. Achibobi Wallo. It is always a pleasure to be here. I want to say thank you for always following us, and I also want to say that we heard from so many of you. Your comments were very interesting and encouraging. Thank you for sharing with us your thoughts about what we have been talking about in the past few weeks. We always want to continue to hear from you. Thank you for doing that. This is Let's Talk Liberia. Let's Talk Liberia is a weekly uh, podcast where we discuss national issues um, from a biblical perspective. We want to encourage our pastors, our imams, to join us, as we together talk about the happenings in our country, Liberia. So I want to say a very big welcome to all of you. Thank you for always, sharing with us your thoughts as well. This is kind of new to me personally, to some of my colleagues, but because of love for country and because we also want to contribute our own opinion and suggestions and recommendations about how we can move our country forward. We created this platform mainly for us to be able to engage our religious leaders. Liberia cannot move forward if we don't bring everybody along. Everyone has something to contribute to the forward movement of our country. And so that is why we created this platform. So we want to say a very big thank you for your comments. They were actually encouraging. Today, uh, before my colleagues come, today we'll be discussing few things. Number one, we want to talk about the President We Are birthday speech. Number two, we want to talk also about the secret killings, and then the police director press conference recently. And then we will also be talking about Honorable Abraham Darius Dillon's suspension from the Liberty Party. Uh, and then this entire thing that is going on with the Butuburan camp demolition in Ghana, our attention is also drawn to that entire scenario. If we have time, we'll mention it. But before I bring in Honorable Singbe, I just want to read a passage of scripture to you guys. And it's Psalm 133. It says, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like precious oil put on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion. For there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore." Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about our country. And the reason I read that passage of scripture is because of its emphasis on unity, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. We as a country, we have to unite. In recent times, we have seen how divided our country is, how divided our country is becoming. You know, we have to understand that our strength is in our unity, it's not in our differences. We can be stronger as a country when we find a common goal, a common identity, when we realize that we are one people. Because without unity, we cannot move our country forward. There are a lot of people that will want to see us as a country remain divided because it benefits them, right? But we should refuse, most especially we as God's children. We should refuse to see our nation divided, to see ourselves, fighting among ourselves. Uh, so we want to emphasize that we have to stand together as a nation. That is something that the voice also says in the latter part, verse 3. The latter part of verse 3, it says, "For there the Lord bestows his blessings, even life forevermore." God does not love chaos, right? The Bible says he is not the author of confusion. God does not author confusion. He is not the source of confusion. God cannot bestow blessings where there is confusion or chaos. He does not do that. And so, we as a country, if we want to enjoy the blessings of God, we want to enjoy God's blessing upon our country, we have to see that we are united. We have to make sure that each of us play our part to keep ourselves together, to keep ourselves united. And so we want to encourage all Liberians, regardless of your political persuasion, regardless of your religious background, regardless of your status in society. I want you to know that you have a stake in this equation called Liberia. And when we come together to make sure that we live in peace with each other, we live in harmony with each other, we tolerate each other, that Liberia is bigger than just any individual, then we will be able to put our country forward. We will be able to put our country first. We will be able to put our country's interests first. Because when Liberia is better, there is a chance that all Liberians will be better. So that is a challenge I want to leave with you today as we go into our discussion. I want to, encourage every one of us that we can do what we can to make our country, Liberia, a peaceful, a stable, a unified country, because the Bible encourages us that it is good, not just good, but it is also pleasant when we live together. And that's exactly what we need to do as God's children. If people are divided, we as God's children, we have to always preach the unity of God. We have to strive. We have to do everything we can to make sure that our country remain united. Because when we are united, we will do better. Remember, says, in union, strong success is sure. And so we want to, encourage ourselves, encourage all Liberians for us to be able to live together, pursue the peace of Liberia, the stability of Liberia, so that we all can enjoy this one country. God bless you. Thank you so much for, following us. Let me welcome Honorable Singbe. God bless you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Pastor Wallow, and thanks for that inspiring scripture reading and laying the the groundwork for our discussion today. And it's very important that we really take into heed what you've just propined on when it comes to the scripture, because the scriptures nowadays, for most of the churches that are affiliated with the scripture, usually go into today's challenges and how people are living their lives. And, that's a good thing about the good book, because every
Right.
day that things change in our lives, we can refer to the scripture to give us guidance, because those things were put for some amazing reason were already transcribed into that holy book. That's what it's called, the holy book.
Right.
Nothing against other religions, but I think that everything that we go through today, from climate change to people being displaced, to all of those things, you can find some part of the scripture that kind of gives you or that have predicted those things to come and happen. And the scripture is there to as a word of encouragement, as a way of encouraging us to steadfast and keep our faith in the divine creator, so that we can persevere to make sure that good come out of everything that we tend to involve ourselves with. So thank you
Yeah.
for setting that platform, and you really appreciate it.
Thank you. And you, yeah, I totally agree with you. There is nothing we are experiencing now. There is nothing we experience in the future that the Bible did not address. And any problem, any human problem that the Bible has addressed, the Bible have also put forward its solutions. But what we
Absolutely.
don't do is to look into the Bible for us to draw solutions, practical solutions to our challenges, and that's what we are encouraging, our national leaders to begin to do. The church will have to teach the Bible in a more practical way,
There you go.
not just preaching it, but in ways that, that people can understand the principles that, the Word of God has, and how those principles can be applied to their daily lives. I think that is the challenge for so many people.
Absolutely. I think
And
most of the church, yeah, and let me get back to what you're saying. Most of the churches now are preaching. Their way of preaching is more of a teaching and letting people know, just like you said, that the solutions to most of the temptations or the problem we're faced with, that there's scriptures in the Bible that can guide you through having to go through that stage, with the evolving of the word also, where all of the changes, absolutely, there are scriptures readings that can really kind of support or prepare you for some of those things, and how to challenge it. You're absolutely right.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we have few things that we will be talking about today,
Yeah.
but we want to begin with this issue. We talked about it before,
Mm-hmm.
and I want us to begin with this secret and ritualistic killings that are going on in Liberia.
Yeah.
But today's conversation it's interesting because of what the police director, his press conference recently, right, where he practically denounced the happenings of ritualistic and secret killings in Liberia. Okay, but in his denouncement, he just pointed out just two or three cases, right? Two cases on Facebook, and then this other person that shot himself, but then fake that incident to that being, other people, was trying to kill him. But this is my confusion, right? When you listen to what the police director said, number one is troubling because of the way in which he presented it. But this was the same police director that did not give a press conference when three children got missing. When the auditors' bodies were found on Broad Street, right? When these people were being killed, they did not give a press conference. Even up to now, Liberians don't know where those cases stand, right? So, but he gave a press conference to denounce the happenings of secret killings in Liberia. What do you make of that?
Yep. I think your phone is frozen. Can you hear me?
Am I saying you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm hearing you now.
Okay, great. Because your phone kind of froze there for a minute. Well, I'm not um, qualified to make judgment on what the police department or the police director say. What I can deduce from his conversation and from my own experience with security work and all of that is that there has to be some level of consistency with, as you rightfully stated, that when we had the three young children that were missing and we had the death of these folks from the auditing department, general auditor office, and that the police did not get a press conference. What I'm, what I know, what I've seen around is that police never get involved with giving press conferences without the Department of Justice. Police always um, have a way of investigating, and until they've gathered the facts, they highly or never give press conferences. Some instances they will come in, and if they have individual of interest and they need to find, that person.
You are breaking in.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I'm saying you are breaking in.
I'm not sure why. Uh,
Yes, I can hear you.
you can hear me now?
Okay, you're fine. You should be fine now.
Okay. What I was saying is that many a
I can
times
hear you.
police, okay, many a times police don't give press conferences with investigating matters. The practices is that police would give press conference to kind of let the public know that there were continuous investigation and that if they have people of interest who they have not.
Yeah, you are still sticking.
Oh my
Your
goodness, I'm not sure why.
I'm saying you are still sticking.
All right,
You are
do you want me to?
still
Can I call
you
back?
are still coming in and going out, coming in and going out.
All right, can I come back? Log in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me try
Yes,
to
yes, you can come
let,
back.
let me try to get a disconnect and
Yes, you
then
can
come
come
back
back.
on. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, is it right? This press conference that the police director gave is, for me though, is kind of troubling for few important facts, and I think that was part of what Singbe was trying, to explain. Um, there are a lot of communities in Liberia, a lot of families in Liberia that have come forward. with a case of people dying and people going missing, their bodies being found in different communities. Um, and the police director, in his press conference, made mention of just two cases of individuals that that were on Facebook and that gave a false information. I don't know why that was so interesting to the police director. When you have three boys that were missing, and there was an alleged person accused of being involved in their disappearance, and nothing has been done about that, right? But the police director and his colleagues, they took great interest in this particular two individuals that are on Facebook that gave, as he put it, a false report, a false information to the public. Um,
Can you hear me?
Emerson, welcome back.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. So,
All right, good.
as I was saying, I don't know why this police director took great interest into sharing in a press conference these two cases or these two individuals on Facebook that, according to him, gave false statement or false information about ritualistic killing or secret killings in Liberia, but he was not able to say anything about they had not been able to say anything, but he took great consideration into these two individuals on Facebook that, according to him, gave false information. I don't know what is your reading into that. You are security minded. I'm not. But
Well,
I have a lot of things to say about that. But what is your take? What is how do you read into that?
well, it's not for me to kind of judge what those guys are doing. But I speak from the experience of what I've seen with security, especially when it comes to police department and how they go about with their investigation and how holding press conferences. I think earlier we were
Can you hear
talking
me?
about. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Your phone is frozen now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're very low.
Hello? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Osingbe?
Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me? You're breaking in.
Osingbe, can you hear me?
No, no, no.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to apologize for the interruption in our broadcast. We are having some technical difficulties, so please bear with us briefly as we try to resolve this issue. Um, so
Hello?
can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, I can
You
hear
can hear
you.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud and clear, right?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Please
Okay,
go ahead.
I think we're better off now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. As I was saying, I don't have the rights to investigate or to conclude on the behavior of the police, but I can just um, provide some insight on what I've seen as far as police practices around the countries, especially in the United States, when it comes to investigation and the level of professionalism that has to be followed. As you earlier indicated, there were other killings that were never investigated and never talked about. Police in many places are not quick to uh, to give press conferences. So I understand that the police department was not in the practice of giving press conferences when those other killings went on. But fast forward to today, when we talk about ritualistic killing, the police department needs to be very mindful. And from what I deduce from their action, I think that they're trying to put an image out there that the country is safe for people to go into by doing series of things. One is that the press conference heard earlier that you referred to by the IG, they call him, which is the police director in layman term.
Yeah,
I
the
think
Inspector
he,
General.
yeah, Inspector General. Um, I think what happened is that there was some information that were not supposed to really be discussed by the chief of police, because the chief of police provide logistical, what you call it, means for running the day-to-day activities of the police department. Hello? Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, now you're very low.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's loud.
Okay, good.
What happened? The thing just went off.
Yeah, so I think it acted like you re-enter.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's the network.
okay. It is the
Something is not
network.
going right.
Okay. As I was saying, the police director, the IG coming in and doing the open press conference, and you notice that there were two other persons. The deputy police, deputy chief of operation, who were very silent for most of the time when the IG spoke, and absolutely he should be the one that giving out the that would be answering questions from the media because he's totally in charge of operation, and the IG um, work is basically overseeing the whole police department. I understand that they're anxious to put an image out there that Liberia is safe and that the people need to go by their way, as I deduced from today's. There was a press conference this morning too. The spokesperson for the police department spoke and
Hmm.
talked about the arrest of this young man when he went to the alternative what conference for
Oh,
the ALP?
okay. That's the ANC, the Alternative National Congress
Okay,
convention.
okay, convention in Nimba County. Apparently, they had to specifically say that he had gone there and his affiliation during the arrest had to do with the political party. I think that was wrong. From
Mhm.
my own, you know, layman thinking, I think that was wrong for them to mention the political party. They should have
Okay.
gone and arrested the man, no matter where they picked him up from. If he was the one, if he's a suspect, I think he was arrested based on the fact that they had gathered some information from the internet, from Facebook. And nowadays, anybody can put anything in somebody's name and put it on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So if they arrested him because of posting stuff on Facebook, then they have to arrest a lot of people because he will not be
absolutely.
the first person that will post stuff on Facebook, and he won't be the last. But let me just point take you back to something you mentioned.
Okay.
Uh, I 100% agree with you that this press conference was meant to project an image of safety, in Liberia, to encourage people, maybe in the diaspora and Liberians at home, that Liberia is safe. All of these rumors of ritualistic killing you're hearing, people putting stuff on Facebook is not factual. But my question to you, though, is do you buy that narrative? Because I don't.
Well, knowing the and first our initial conversation had to do with the national security threats in the country, and again, I would refer back to our first discussion. National security threat of Liberia is very prevalent. Anything can result to a threat of that entire nation. So I don't think to specifically come out and talk about the recent publication of people death and all of that is just by the IG coming out and saying that it's safe means that it's safe. I don't that I think is not unacceptable because I can refer you again back to the human rights report that was submitted to the U.S. government on March 30th of 2001. In there, it talks about human rights violations. In that human rights report, it talked about people getting missing. It talked about arrest and the due process of the court not being followed. It talks about, prison and detention center conditions. It talks about a whole lot of stuff in that. So that human rights report uh, 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 already have said in that report that Liberia generally is not safe. So to have the police director or the IG come out and say that the country is safe and try to pin an image, I think it was not. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy that. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy that.
Yeah, I totally agree because I don't buy it. The thing is this, right? Mosingbe, um, to project an image of the country, for the outside world to see, the positive things that are going on in Liberia. It does not have to be done just in the press conference,
No,
right? Uh, in fact, we cannot have an economic development if we don't have stability in the country. If we don't have, the rule of law being followed in the country. What has been happening over the period of time is this partial justice. There are some things that happen that claim people's attention. and then people are swift to act on it. There are other things that happen, and then nobody says anything about it. You know, that's not how you administer the rule of law. Okay, things have to be followed in a more organized way that will give public that will create a public safety. But right now, that's not being done. Okay, the I have never seen a police department become so partisan. That's what this police department has become.
Well, listen, let me just interject there for a minute. Uh, and I think you're 100% right, because policing has to do with the national security of that country, especially so we have one police force, and it should be nonpartisan. But we find that people in authority with the government have used police to kind of arrest people based on personal relationship, personal feeling, and personal mishap. And I was there, twice, and I witnessed some of those things happening. We gotta first understand that our police department in Liberia has no respect when it comes to the public. The public has no respect for the police officers. That has created such an adversary relationship between police and your citizens. When in fact, the IG mentioned also that police work, I'm not sure where he got that from recently, police work is not completed until citizens are involved, because they turn to citizens to really get information from them to proceed. Now, if the citizens don't respect the police or don't trust the police, they're not going to share anything. And that trust is not by virtue of authority, but it's by virtue of building respect, mutual respect for both civilians and other citizens, for both between both civilians and the police department. There has to be that the activity has to be in a way that it builds the sense of respect. And let me take you back to again, since the arrest riot in 19.
Before you go to the historical context, right? Let me
Yeah.
let me let me let me ask you this.
Okay.
So right now, the government is trying to project this image of Liberia being a
Hmm.
safe place
Yeah.
because the government is also planning this bicentennial program, right? They want a lot of people in the diaspora, Americans or other nationalities from different parts of the world to go and celebrate that. So they try to project this, this image of Liberia being a safe place. Well, that's good, but yeah, they have to do better. They have to do better thing. But this is my question. Okay, I want you to go to the recommendation piece,
Right.
right? What will you recommend for the national government to do? If you can just go from step by step, what they will need to do to actually get security under control, so that this public concern about insecurities, about people not feeling safe in their communities will actually reduce. It shouldn't just be superficial of someone just coming in a press conference and saying outrageous things, because nobody going to buy that stuff that guy was saying. Nobody going to buy it. Okay? Because there are legitimate fear in the communities in Liberia. There are people that have been missing in the various communities, and families are are talking about that. One press conference is not going to call it. What would be, the step-by-step recommendations that you can give to this government to at least reduce public fear about what is going on in Liberia?
Well, I can tell you, even with my recommendations, it's going to be very difficult to achieve that because of post-war. Many of the citizens experience a lot of atrocity during the Civil War when we talk about anarchy. And the police department, it was difficult for Ellen to, during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration in 2012, there was a report that came out again that says that security was pretty much almost non-existent coming from a civil conflict. What I think the government can do moving forward first is that we need to have better trained officers. We need to provide the kind of training and logistics for them to do their work appropriately. With that work, they need to build police community relationships. And that means that the police need to have a total different image within the community. They need to build their image of not being partisan, number one. And that's what I keep recommending first and foremost, that the police, the fire, and the paramedics in Liberia should be taken away from the Department of Justice and put under a public safety commission. Most of the countries that you find police force under public safety commissions. So that creates a fair play, whereas even police exercising their duty are also human beings and can make mistakes, and that the Department of Justice can investigate and prosecute those that abuse the power that they've been given. And until we see some of those things, it'll be very difficult because, again, the Justice Department cannot investigate itself in terms of having them investigate police officers for wrongdoing. So
Uh,
one of the things that they need to do, one thing I would highly recommend is to create a public safety commission that will oversee the police department, the fire department, and the EMTs, because that directly has to do. And until they can do, and I can tell you, international community will step in if that's a corrective measures that's been taken, and they can promote this corrective measure. People tell me not to share my ideas, but I think this is in the interest of my country, Liberia, and I will share it with no strings attached. I think the need to bring an independent person to head the Public Safety Commission so that these people can receive better training and start from that. The police is the top security for the nation. Forget about everybody else that is assigned to, the president and all of that stuff. But police is very important to the safety of your country, and that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Create training, uh, 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 um, training for officer, and then that training comes with competent salary, competent compensation.
so let me hold you there and ask you this. Um you mentioned something that I want you to talk more about. And yes, it. But before I do that, let me say this. You have some brilliant suggestions and recommendations that can actually help our security apparatus in Liberia. Um, I want you to talk about these two things. Number one, have you written down these suggestions, and will you be willing to share it with a candidate of your choice, a candidate that is running to be president? Will you be willing to share that with a candidate? That because we have to improve security in our country. And then two things. And the second thing I want you to also speak to is You mentioned that the relationship with the police and the public is very poor. The public don't respect the police. How? What needs to be changed for the police to gain that respect from the public?
Okay, let me address your first question, and that is plainly, I am willing, and I have written document. 2017, I composed a document here, um, on post. Uh, Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, because you went black there for a minute.
Hello, I'm
Okay,
hearing you.
I wrote I wrote a document, a thesis on the post-war security sector reformed in Liberia, and I'm willing to share that document with the government, not only sharing the document, but I can also make some recommendations. And I know folks who will want to work. Some folks voluntary, some folks might, need, some kind of compensation. And there are people that I can reach out to help the government to begin to look at the security sector. Secondly, when you talked about the police and community relations, that's a tough thing all around the country, even in the United States. You live here and you're seeing some of the sentiment of people when they talk about police and communities and police shooting people. And, when we talk about the Black Lives Movement and all of that, right now we're talking about the debate in Washington has to do with trillions of dollars that include some monies from there to do police reform. So police reform is not something that is shocking or surprising to the world. Everyday people need to do that. Liberia, I remember back in the day, police and citizen lived in the same community. The officers were highly, highly respected. And we're talking about pre-war era and before the Rest Riot situation. And after the Rest Riot, police had an image that they were the one who were shooting at innocent demonstrators who were young children, students at the time during the Rest Riot. And that image had remained in Liberia for a long time until the Civil War started. And recent, when we talked about the end of the Civil War, most of the folks that were employed with the police department in Mr. Taylor's administration were people who were participants of the war. And that was a way to create a sense of security because those people during the war provided security to Charles Taylor during the war. And he saw it fit that those same people would make good police officers. But police officers cannot be warlords. And when Ellen came in, most of those folks who were already there remained in those positions. They remained in those positions. And we did not go to totally reform the police department or the security sector. So it's very important for us to go back and create
Hmm.
and start something strategically to really start to look at best practices in other places to rebuild the security sector in Liberia. Because if you look at the people that are already there, those people participated in the war. There was total anarchy, and that means that they need intense training to kind of do not some of them be rehabilitated, but really rehabilitate their mindset as to what security is. I'm not sure, besides these academy folks from other place like Bangladesh coming in to train our police officer. Can you imagine that? When I got there in 2013, they had people from Bangladesh coming and training our police officer. I couldn't believe something like that. I know
Yeah.
the UN meant well, and they were doing their own, they wanted to do something to change the trajectory of anarchy, to change that and to change the mindset. But you're talking about Bangladesh, a
Yeah.
country like
Even you,
Bangladesh, where you have a high crime rate, you bring people from there to train your police officer? Come on now. Come on.
and people shouldn't forget that you are talking about post-war Liberia,
Exactly.
where you have a lot of former combatants that want to get into the police, and then you are bringing people from Bangladesh to come and train your
Train
national
them.
police.
Yeah. 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 And that is transforming their mindset, trying to tell them that the way forward is by going out and talking to the people, interacting with the people, creating relationship. And you see, police officer are trained, and the only difference between them and the general public is that they have the authority to do an arrest. But policing can be conducted by citizens themselves. They just don't have the power to arrest. And that's the power that is given to police officer after training. Because during the training, they understand the law, probable cause, suspicions, and those are the things that go on in training. So
Yeah,
that you can use your discretion to figure out and be able to understand the law, to know that this person have violated the law that warrants an arrest or
yeah.
detention
If
until,
if
yeah, go ahead.
if we will have citizens themselves providing security for their communities, uh, then why do we need a national government that's supposed to protect lives and property? Okay, if
Well,
the national government is not providing that for its citizens,
well, then hear what it is.
why are they government?
Well, hear what it is. Not to decry the government, but when the government cannot provide security for the people need to turn. I think at one point during the Ellen administration, the government had encouraged vigilantes. People need to police their own communities and stuff like that. And I can tell you, that's an avenue for abuse of power,
Yeah,
and those are things you don't want to do.
yeah, yeah.
Citizens,
And people do that. People do that as a means of helping out,
well,
because
some
we don't.
some
Yes,
people
yeah,
must do.
because we
Some people may
our
do that.
our police force is very small. They cannot be
Absolutely.
into every community at the same time. So, people improvise on that.
Yeah, the police. We don't have the capacity to to
Yes.
to to deter crimes in our communities in Liberia, simply because we have not made the effort. The government, the leader, have not made the effort to understand. And you see, if anything is needed in Liberia, is security. And I think the focus of a government should be more focused on security. Your economic growth is deterred by the presence of crime,
Yeah.
and some of the situations that we see in that country today. Tourists will not come to your country. No one want to invest or anything because you don't have the security. And I think some of the folks, when the United States put an alert up and saying that people got to be careful when they travel to Liberia, that's not good for the government. That is not good for the government. I remember the last alert that came out had to do with the shortage of money uh, 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 uh,
Yes,
from the
I
State
remember
Department.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
of
and
money, and that's that again is a national security threat. When people can't come to your country because you don't have money, the people come in, they can't even get their own money from the bank, and you have long lines from the bank.
hello.
That need to be looked at.
Yeah, and you know what? All of those things are happening, and then people think that one press conference going to resolve all of those issues that are that have been identified as a national security threat. And then
And the president
Honorable Singh, the
things
economic
and
crisis we are having in our country is also not helping with the situation.
show that people are accountable from the top. Are you
Can you
there?
hear me? I'm here.
I
Okay.
hear you now.
Yeah. So yeah, I love talking to
Laws.
you about this national security issues. And the stuff that is going on in our country, with these ritualistic killings, it have to stop. It has to stop. It can't continue. We have had so many crises in Liberia, and this cannot be one of the things that we cannot control. Okay, so national government have to do better. They have to bring a stop to this disaster. Okay, they have to, but we have to move on because of time.
Yeah, but let me just say something real quick about the killing in Liberia. One of the things that I can remember as a young man growing up, there were this ritualistic killing that was talked about for many years when I was a kid growing up. One of the things that deter
We used
people
to call
in
it boyo.
well, one of the things that was before your time that I'm talking about, my brother. But one of the things that deterred people was when Torba took over. And the first thing he did, he hung by when people were prosecuted and found guilty for ritualistic killing, he hung the so-called perpetrator, the Anisin, the Yensi, Butu. First, he started with Justin Obi, who killed the professor at Cuttington University. The international community frowned on it, but that was a strong message. I'm not saying the government should take the drastic message to do that because this is the 21st century. They can find ways, there are ways that they can find to hold people accountable for their actions. And again, it comes down to investigative tools and properly trained security forces that can make sure to investigate perpetrators to laws. Mexico is
And I said, but you breaking in.
go ahead.
Now I was saying you're breaking in. Yeah. So you concluded your point.
Yeah,
Okay.
the proper people.
Yeah. So let's move to something else. Because of the time. Um, I don't know whether you listened to President Wian's birthday's message yesterday.
Oh my God.
I
You want
did.
to take me to the other avenue.
Well, the reason I think is important to talk about is because of two things. Well, let me say this. I think President Weah intended to explain, what his childhood life was like. The fact that he came from a very poor background, he has not had the opportunity to celebrate, a birthday. He has not had the opportunity to celebrate a birthday. I think he wanted people to understand why this birthday was very important for him to celebrate. Because remember now, a lot of people in the opposition were calling on him that he should not celebrate this birthday because of the things that are going on in the country. So I think the first thing that he intended to do was to explain to people why this birthday was important, right? Because of his childhood, he came from a very poor background. He have never had, the opportunity to celebrate a lot of birthday, except for one birthday he mentioned, I think 22 years old, where he celebrated. That was the only birthday he was able to celebrate. So, growing up now, having this opportunity, he think it is good for him to celebrate it. I gave him that. Okay. My first issue here is this. Before I dive, too much into the the message yesterday, but my first issue here is this. For the past 2 to 3 weeks, Liberia and Liberians have been concerned with these ritualistic and secret killings that they needed their president to have said something about. He have been missing. He have not said anything about it. He have not mentioned anything to anyone about it, at least in the public, or he have never given a press conference to the media or called on the nation to remain calm, because he is going to take full responsibility and he's going to authorize the security apparatus to do due diligence and bring things under control. He have not been able to do that. But he gave a birthday message yesterday.
Where did he get the message at?
At the party headquarters.
There you go. That's it. That does it for me. The president of a country gives a birthday message at the party headquarters. So that message was not intended for the country, it was intended for his partisan. That's all I can say.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that even though he gave a birthday message yesterday, but he hasn't spoken to the country yet, because that was not a message for the country.
No, that was not the message for the country, and he doesn't have a message for the country.
Yes, because he doesn't have the message for the country. Well,
the country.
Why not be president for once? Why not be president for once?
Why would you?
Especially on this issue of the ritualistic killing. Honorable Assembly, let me tell you something. I remember when Julie Bryant took over the I think the transition government. Liberians, we were experiencing exactly what we are experiencing today, with people going missing, their bodies being found in the various communities. And I remember the late Judy Bryant gave a press conference and said that anyone that was caught
I'm gonna go outside
was going to be prosecuted. In fact, the way Judy Bryant said it, he said, you will go to court. When you are convicted, you are not going to jail. You will die.
This is terrible, man.
Because you took other people's lives, you will die. And when Judy Bryant gave that press conference, I understand we have to, appeal to our listeners. We are having some difficulties with the internet today, but yes, it though. he gave a press conference and he said to everybody that if you were caught in that very act, what's going to happen to you when you go to court and you are convicted in court? You are not going to jail. You will die. And there was a complete stop to that secret killings and ritualistic killing. And yet, is it we have a president who hasn't spoken to the country, but went at his party headquarters yesterday to give a birthday message. Interesting.
Well, Pastor, what I can tell you is the president has been president for almost 3 years or a little over 3 years. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. The president has been president for over 3 years. Yesterday, if he had not done things over the last 3 years, yesterday would not make him president. Yesterday would not have been the day. If he had spoken to the whole country, it would not have made him a better president anyway. You understand what I'm saying? A president work doesn't come on certain day. You're president every day from the time you're inaugurated into office.
That's
And
correct.
it's a hard job. It's a hard job. I think most of his advisors don't know better, and they have not served him best. They have not served him best. Because if he doesn't know, if you don't know something, you bring people around you who would tell you, who would try to advise you on some of the actions to take. But those people that are around him are to be blamed more than he should be blamed. I know the buck stops at him, but I think the people around him are the one responsible for all of his actions. That is from my own estimation. And I think that by him going to the CDC headquarters to make a birthday speech says it all for me. It was not intended for the country. It was not intended for the citizens. So maybe he would give a different speech come Monday. I hope he would. And in that speech, he would probably talk about the rumors around, since the police director says the IG is saying it's not true, that people posting these pictures to make the government look bad. He will probably talk about some of those things, talk about security, talk about the university that shut down. For the past 3 weeks, they have not had classes because the teachers have walked straight. Talked about some of the things that happened with the people across the breach. Every little action in our country creates a sense of security breach. And I think that the president, I'm not sure if he's been advised by his national security advisor. I'm not even sure who's the national security advisor.
Well, let me say this. You know, I've heard a lot of most of the times
Because real quick, go ahead.
people say, yeah. So most of the time people say, you know, the president is not being well served by his advisors, by people that around him, you know, and what of that. Uh, uh, you know, peace be unto her arches. The late Senator Geraldine Doe, you know, I interacted with her, you know, greatly. She was a very great, you know, caring lady. She said, you know, and she came from the CDC. She knows President Weah, you know, and she said something. She said, President Weah would be a monster when he becomes president. I was like, why? She said, because he doesn't listen. So
Okay.
there is one thing for you to advise a president, but there's another thing for the president to take your advice.
Okay. Then guess what? Guess what? We've seen that numerous times. If you put me in the position to be a national security advisor, and I'm advising you of threat to the national security, and you refuse to react, I'm out. I won't stay there. I'm not doing you justice. I'm not doing my country justice because I'm I was appointed in that position to serve and to create a sense of security for not just you, the president, but for the entire country. So if I'm giving you the right advices and you're not adhering to it or you're not considering it, and I'm in a position that you gave me to say I'm your national security advisor and I'm telling you what I think based on education, based on talking to people outside and understanding what's going on, and you're not adhering to it or you're not acting in that uh, 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 in that direction, I'm out.
But another thing, though, although
I'm
the
out.
president did not speak to Liberians yesterday, he spoke to his partisans. He
Yeah,
spoke
I know that.
to Congress of Democratic Change and Coalition of Democratic Change. Those are the people he was addressing yesterday.
Exactly.
But he also spoke to the opposition community yesterday, and this was
Okay.
his message. This was his message. Um, I defeated you guys in 2017. I'm going
Yeah.
to defeat you again in 2023. And the thing about that though is the way he said it, right? He said, I'm going to defeat you because number one, the Liberian people love me. And two, because I am the spokesperson, I'm the voice of the Liberian people. That's why I'm going to defeat you in 2023. Okay.
Yep.
He did not say because I have been a good president, because I have fixed the
No.
economy, because I have improved the education system that have been a mess, that is still a mess, because I have improved the healthcare delivery for the country. He is not counting on any of that. He is saying because Liberian people love me and because I'm the voice of the Liberian people.
Yep. And let me say this to tell you. I think when you elect people based on electability and not based on what they can perform or what they can do, that's the result of what happened. Because I'm not sure what the legacy is going to be. And if you ask the supporters, they will tell you, "Oh, he's building this place, he's building that place, he's building this place." Just as it's being built, it can be torn down. What I tell them is that we need to know, we need to see what the legacy that's going to be left. I still ask the former president's supporters that I know of, what is the legacy of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? I got yet to know what the legacies are. What the legacies. As a leader, you want to do something that people can remember you by. And that's what is called legacy. What are you going to do? And he
Yeah,
said the people love him. That's the
yeah. The
legacy.
people the
Well,
people love him.
maybe
The
that's
people
what
love
that
him.
is.
And you know
Yeah,
what? He might be right. He might be right.
yeah,
See the crowd yesterday at
yeah,
the party headquarters yesterday. Huge crowd.
yeah,
He might be right.
yeah,
He might be right that the
yeah,
people
but
love him. And people love George Weah. People do. So maybe that's why he's
yeah,
counting
but
on. That even though
he's counting on that. But
even if I am the worst president, people love me. And they're going to vote for me in
I know.
2023.
And,
And,
and
and,
let me give you this
almost somewhere,
analogy.
before
Ev-
you come in, right? Before you come in, he made the statement using I. I will defeat you. I will do this. I will do that. I. With no recognition that he is in a coalition that Vice President Joe Hawatila actually helped him.
No. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. He think he did her a favor.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah. And the whole party thinks that. All the partisan thinks that. But I can tell you one thing. The day Josh Weah is no longer president, CDC is never, ever going to exist. Just like other political parties.
That's what I'm about to say. That is the history of
like
most
NDPL,
political parties in
just
Liberia.
like the other political parties. Yeah. And so that's what I say. We do not have political parties. We do not have. The day Ure now not running for office anymore, his political party is dead. They had to come back alive by joining the coalition. Now that Brumskin is gone, and I think that's your next topic. The chaos just started in the Liberty Party with the suspension of Darius Dillon. And that's down here for Liberty Party.
What, to just move on with the president's yesterday's message, his birthday's message, what do you think would have been a better use of that time?
Well, I can tell you the first thing that I can get a grasp on is the fact that yesterday was a holiday.
Oh yeah, the entire government was shut down. Of course, that Judge we are celebrating.
Yesterday,
yes, it was a holiday.
Everything was shut down. So, what I deduce from, if you had economic growth, your GDP went down yesterday. Everything shut down. People who were the marketeers and the stores and everybody else, the economy, it was an economic disaster yesterday for Liberia because they had to have a holiday to observe the president. Everything stopped. That's not good for a country that's coming from a war.
Yeah, and I'm still struggling to developing her economy.
Important. They're struggling. Have not even done anything. And you have holiday because it's the president's birthday? Who does that? Who does that? Why does the president have the kind of authority to declare a holiday?
I don't think he declared a holiday yesterday. I don't think he declared a holiday yesterday.
But everything was shut down.
Everything was shut down. Yes, because you have all sycophants and praise sinkers that are going to go there to appease the president. They need a job. They need to protect their jobs.
Why everything was shut down? Why all the ministries were shut down?
I just told you because you have sycophants and you have praise singers that have to go and appease the president because they have to keep their jobs.
They should be fired.
Well, who's supposed to fire them? The president.
Listen. They all the Liberian people. The positions that they hold is to serve. People need to understand. Government serve the population, the people, the citizens.
Yes.
And the citizens need to act. The citizen needs to rise up and ask for their resignations. The Department of Education did not function yesterday. The Department of Health did not function yesterday. The Department of Public Works did not function yesterday. Department of Commerce did not function yesterday. There were people who needed to go to Commerce to pay their bills, to get their papers completed. You shut it down. People have health issues that needed to be addressed.
Can I say this?
Go ahead.
The president was elected by the people. He
Yeah,
is obligated
to the people.
to the people. The
Yeah,
president's cabinets are obligated to the president. They
but they serve the people.
they they served the
The
president.
people. No, they serve the people.
They provide well, government provides services, but
That's right. So if you're in any
but
position, you serve the people.
yes, you serve the people, but you are the president's cabinet serve him. You know why? Because they are not accountable to the people. They are accountable to the president. The president is accountable to the people. So if the cabinets are not doing a good job, the people can hold the president accountable. Okay, because the cabinets are not elected by the people. The president was elected by the people, and that's why they need to hold the president accountable. Right now, when you say that the people, yes, the people can ask for their resignation, but to whom? To the president,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To the president, and
Why
that
you
that
think?
that
Why you
that is the
think?
thing.
Why do you think that every cabinet minister has to go for a confirmation hearing? The Judicial Committee represents the people. That's where they tell you. That's what I say. Each of those individuals serve the people. Because here what it is. The president appoints, because all the people cannot confirm those people, they go to the Senate Judicial Committee. The people who elect the senators, those senators are there to represent them and ask the tough questions. So if they're not doing their job, the same citizens can go to the senator and tell the senator, you confirm this person on behalf of us, and this person is not working on our behalf. We need the people. And you see, that's what it is. But the
Yeah,
senators are in bed with the president too.
yes. Yes, you are right. I agree with you. Right, that is the checks and balances we have in our system of government. But what I'm
We have
saying
it.
is the cabinet ministers, they serve at the pleasure of the president.
Of the
So
president.
if they were not going to attend the president's if they were not going to attend the president's birthday yesterday, he has all right to fire them.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can fire them. Then guess what? The people will rise up and say this person did the right thing, and we don't think the person should be fired. Even though they fire, but you will have a good record with the people that you
Yeah.
serve.
And the only time and the well, yes, the people can do that, but will the people be inclined to do that?
Well, that's another question. That's another thing. You know, Torbert, I will always go back to Torbert. What Torbert did, Torbert used to leave Bentor at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you know what he started to do? He started to visit ministries. If he got to your ministry and the minister was not there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you were fired. He just told he called you, told you, say, drop the car off. Somebody else is already in the seat, deputizing as the minister, and you're fired. The first two people he fired, everybody started going to the ministry at 8 o'clock in the morning to serve the people.
Because you have to be an example. You
You see,
have to lead by example.
that's what Tobra did. And guess
You
what?
know?
All the ministers were in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning because they didn't know which one of the ministry you were going to.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This time around, the president birthday shut down the entire country. We had
I
a
know.
holiday yesterday, self-imposed holiday yesterday, and nothing happens in Liberia. Liberians' children went to bed hungry. The
Yeah,
economy did not work yesterday.
yeah,
Healthcare delivery did not go out yesterday. Education system did not. Nothing works yesterday
nothing.
because we are celebrating the birthday of one man.
Yeah, yeah,
The Liberian presidency have become a monarchy now, where we have to celebrate one man, let the entire country be shut down, and everybody else, sucks to that one man. That's what our democracy have been reduced to, and it happened yesterday.
yeah. And it will continue to happen because people have not rise up. You see, the university students stood up to that yesterday morning, and they had supposedly they had some intruders who came in, and there was some violent attacks and all of that. But then they came back, they regrouped and came back because that was again their whole plot was that the president is celebrating his birthday, and the university has been shut down for 2 weeks because the teachers have not gotten paid, and the teachers and the university administrators are not meeting of the minds. They
Yeah,
have
but
not met the minds.
that's not important.
You know, that's not important. That's not that's not something to consider given that yesterday was a birthday.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
you
what those students the
well
only
I'm
thing,
saying that
yeah,
the university, as you mentioned, have been shut down for 2 weeks.
yeah,
If
yeah,
if they had interest in fixing it, they could have fixed it, but there is no
yeah.
interest. There is no
If I
interest.
well, the president could have did a good thing yesterday by giving a speech and saying I'm instructing the administrators to sit and have a conversation with the teachers. We know we're still recovering from a civil conflict. We know the kind of government, the kind of complaint, challenge that we inherited, taking over the government. But yet and stay, we need our students to learn, especially at the only public university in Liberia. We need you to resume classes no later than Monday morning. So whatever it takes, administration and the teachers need to come to an agreement by Sunday
Do you
and
do
reopen on Monday.
do
I
you
think that would
think
have been a great birthday speech.
do you think the president still needs to address the nation on these ritualistic and secret killings?
Oh,
Do you-
I think you see the thing about it is that I'm not in Liberia and they're talking about these falsehoods and all that stuff with that, but at least the president can give a speech and he can be more uh, to the people. The speech told the masses that wherever is going on, whoever is doing it need to stop because they're going to put security forces in order to make sure that you're caught. And we need to have a message for the general public. I think there's a need to give the speech. If people are putting falsehood on the internet and making, doing the just putting fear in people, then the president needs to let them know that that fear is going to come back to haunt you, that creating the fear.
yeah,
But
and
something needs to be said
yeah,
about the whole issue in Liberia. When people are being stabbed in their homes and killed, and people missing, obviously the president owes it to everybody that he represents. Even the person who was stabbed, he represents that person. And so
sometimes
absolutely something needs to be said.
yeah, sometimes I think if Liberian lives really matter to our national leaders, you
Well,
know, when people are dying and the chief executive of the country, the leader of the people, keep silent, don't come up to address this issue. I sometimes wonder if Liberians' lives matter to our national
but
leaders.
but
And then also sitting here, I'm thinking, because most presidents, their second term is when they try to identify their legacy. I'm really thinking, what would be the the message for President Weah's re-election? I wonder what
well,
is
he
the
already
message we were
told you
hearing yesterday.
yesterday.
Liberian people, you love me, so vote for me. I will be your voice.
That's it. He already told you yesterday in the speech. But the other thing here is that he's not only he's not the only person that can speak out. We have our legislators who were elected by the people. They need to step up and speak out too. They need to step out. The Speaker of the House, the President Pro Tem, all of the districts that are represented, all of those people. And the killing is not just in one particular location, it's all over the country. The legislators need to get together and say something.
Yeah,
The judiciary cannot get
I
involved
agree
with
with
that
you.
because the judiciary cannot get involved with that because they're supposed to prosecute, so they need to have an objective perspective. However, the legislators who represent the people need to speak out. It's not just Mr. Weah.
I agree
They
with
need
you.
to step up
You
to the
know,
plate.
yeah, the representatives, senators, for the various counties, they can speak up. They should
They
speak
need
up.
to.
You know,
Yes.
but at the same time, when the president speaks, the nation listens.
Yeah.
The president has the
Granted.
biggest. The president has the biggest and the loudest voice
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the country.
I understand. I agree with you, my brother. I agree with you. Absence of the president not speaking, the legislators need to speak out themselves. They are to be held accountable themselves because the threat on everybody is a threat on all. And it's not going to stop until our leaders collectively, individually and collectively, start to speak out. The legislators need to have press conference and they need to speak out. They need to hold those people accountable who's supposed to do the investigation. Because they confirmed them.
Yeah.
They confirmed the
Right.
IG. They confirmed the Minister of Justice. They can come up and say, we challenge the Minister of Justice to make sure that our constituents are not living in the sense of fear. Y'all need to come up with something. They can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
They can do that.
Yeah. So
They don't work for the president. It's three different branches of government. The executive branch, and we've given the executive branch so much power to the point that nobody respects the legislative branch. And because the legislators now, they get since when? I mean, in recent years, they get the envelopes. We saw it with Allen's administration. Everything that was, the people come and say, oh, the Oman, the Oman doing well. Legislators say the Oman doing well. Are you serious?
yeah. So
I challenged some of them when they came here.
This is my recommendation, and I want you to, if you have any recommendation, I want you to put it forward because we're about to move on to the final topic tonight. This is my recommendation. I think the president needs to see, himself not as an individual, but as the office he occupies, because
My brother.
that office can do a lot of good. At the same time, that office can cause a lot of harm. When you see yourself as the office, you see yourself bigger than a person.
You're
Because
not making a recommendation. You're making an analogy.
well, no, my recommendation is he should see himself as the office, not as a person. That's my recommendation.
Yeah,
Let
but
him transition. Let him transition from seeing himself as a person, the I. Let him transition from that person, from that individual to the office he occupies. That office is the biggest, the greatest country. We have 5 million people in Liberia, at least 5 million people. You were chosen to be the first in a nation of 5 million people. You carry the burden of every Liberian. They see you as the father. You have to think of yourself in the perspective, not as an individual, but as the office you occupies. I am hoping that the president can transition into that, so that
Okay.
he can become the president that Liberians need him to be. Liberians need him to be the president that will fix the economy. Liberians need him to be the president that can resolve these national security issues. Liberians need him to be the president that can be there for them, that will understand their issues. As he put it, that would be their voice. But right now, we haven't seen our president yet, because the president is still individualized. He needs to
Okay.
be the office and not an individual.
Okay. Now, why? Let me ask you a question, my brother, Pastor. Why you think the president said he's going to win the next election? What did he say?
Liberians love him, and he's the voice
Okay. So
of the
here we
people.
go. Here we go. The Liberian people love him. So there is no thought in mind that the office of presidency has a responsibility to the people. You love your children, so you do anything for your children, don't you? So if you say the Liberian people love him, they're doing something for him. He don't have to do anything for them. You see that mentality? That office of president means something, I think. And that's when I keep going back to civic in Liberian schools. As a young man growing up, they told us what the office of president is supposed to be. So anyone that is elevated to that position should already understand what that means. And I don't think our leaders in Liberia, especially so with this administration, understand what the office of president means. That's why our president has not traveled outside Liberia to other presidents who know that office that they hold, have not gravitated to inviting him, because he's in a total different world by himself. That's another topic for discussion. When
Yeah,
last the
and you know
president
what?
traveled?
For almost similar
When
for what
last
you
did the
said,
president travel to diplomatic thing?
for for for
The
what
United Nations.
for what you said, right?
Yeah.
I think we will need to talk just exclusively on, to talk about the presidency, the Liberian
Yes.
presidency, the
No, no, no,
responsibility
no.
of the
Talk about
president.
no, 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 no. Talk about presidencies in general and the responsibility
Yeah, but
of presidency.
our
Then we
constitution
can
might be
then we
different
can
from other
talk about
countries'
Liberia.
constitution.
We can talk about the presidency first. What it means to be president. What it means to be king. They have monarchy system. They got king. They got other places. They got prime minister. But what is it to be president? I
Well,
think that's a
yes,
topic
but
that needs to be
I
held.
want us to, yeah, I want us to find time to talk about the Liberian presidency. I don't want us to I mean as enshrined in the constitution, because our constitution might be different from other countries' constitution. That's what I'm
Well,
saying. But yeah,
yeah, you're
but
right.
let's find time to do that. Because
Okay.
I think that is very important. And then we
Yeah.
can go down the list. We can talk about the vice president. We can talk about the speaker of the house.
Yeah.
We can talk about the president pro tempore. We can,
So you're talking. So we're gonna go into civics now.
yeah, I think our people need that. We need to bring back civics on the internet. On social media. I think our people need that. While we go towards 2023, because honestly, President, we have to us his message, his re-election message yesterday. Liberian people love me, and I
Yeah.
am the voice of the people. That's it. That is his re-election
Yeah.
message there, and let us make sure that our people understand that. while we go towards 2023.
Campaign.
That's a very important election year, for us not to
Yep.
inform our people, things that they need to know. So if we can bring back civics on social media, I think let us be happy to do that. Let us be happy to do that. Let us talk
All right.
about these things because a lot of people really don't understand the responsibility that a president has to its and
No,
to his or her citizens. So let us be able to
they
talk
don't
about. But
understand.
let's
They don't understand the.
let's move on to something else.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah. So with just 5 or 10 minutes, let's talk about this suspension of Honorable Darius Dillon from the Liberty Party. Um, I have the suspension letter or the press statement. Do you want me to read it?
Oh yeah, that would be fine. You can read it and you can send it to me too, if you could. Can you send it to me? Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
I said, yes, I will send it to you, and I will also post it on
Okay,
our platform for people that have not read
all
it
right.
to read it. But listen, he was suspended for 6 months. Uh,
Oh wow,
uh, he
really?
and yeah, there were two individuals that were suspended. Darius didn't being one. But this is this,
Okay.
this is the
Now,
shocking thing,
now,
though.
now, now, wait a minute. Wait a
One, one,
minute. Let
one,
me
one,
ask you
one
a
second.
question.
1 second before you ask me the question. This is the shocking thing. The political leader the political leader also released a statement
Go ahead.
and said she nullified the decision that was made for Dillon to be suspended. She nullified
Who?
the political leader,
Yemini Conga?
yeah, Lawrence.
Oh,
So,
so.
so you can understand the
Uh-oh.
division that is within the party. And
Uh-oh.
that's part of the reason, even though Liberia was the greater context, but that was part of the reason I read the scripture that I read today. you know
Wow.
you can
So
be
Yemini
that
Conga.
divided in your party, and you make any progress. That is just too much division. Too much
Well,
division.
guess what? Guess what? The both of them hold respective positions in the legislation, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And they're both senators,
Yes.
right? So because she's the now standard bearer of the political party, she's signing against the other political leader from her camp, from her party. And then they were just at the dedication of the rehabilitation center that Darius Dillon supposedly put together. That goes to tell you, Liberian politics is just confusing. And
No, no, no.
this come in the time when you're
Well,
talking about this
well.
come
Let me
at a
let me.
time when you're talking about four political parties. Go ahead.
Oh no, I wanted to say
Hello.
that she's backing Darius Dillon. She's on Darius
Okay.
Dillon's side. Okay,
Okay. She's
she
back. Oh, good.
yeah
Good.
she is saying that, well, she's saying that Darius Dillon have not done anything wrong to be suspended because
Okay. Oh, she notified.
the honorable chairman Musa
Okay.
Hassan Belete temper with
Okay.
their revised
Their
constitution.
constitution.
So the
All right.
investigation is still going on. So it is not time for them to reach a decision for Darius Dillon to be suspended. But Darius Dillon was not suspended based on that. Darius Dillon was suspended because of the his utterance towards the party chairman and other leaders in the party. And my position, I
You're
think Darius
breaking
Dillon,
it. You're
I think
breaking
Darius
it.
Dillon deserve to be suspended.
You think
I
so?
think he deserved to be suspended.
Huh?
Yes, I think
Why?
he
Why did
deserved
he
to be
get suspended
suspended
again?
because of his utterance towards the party chairman and other
Why?
leaders, executive.
Why? 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 What is it that the bylaw says though for the party?
Or wait
Do
me my
you do
bylaws.
you have do you know what the bylaw says for the Liberty Party?
No, I don't know what your ballot says, but the
Okay.
I
Well,
think the National Executive Committee investigated that, and they took a vote, and they all agreed that Umbro Dillon
uh-huh.
should be suspended. So maybe
So are we
maybe
saying that the national the national executive has the power to do such based on their constitution, right?
yes,
I
yes,
will
based on their
assume
constitution, yes.
that they got the right to do that. But what happened is that sometimes when these guys writing these constitution because of political reason and interests of their themselves, they don't take into account some of these things. Whereas you have a sitting senator that represents your party,
Okay,
you're
so let me
suspending him
let
for
me let
six
me let
weeks.
me just let me just
So
read let me just read few
what
let me just read few pages yeah, quickly. Let me just read this real quickly.
okay, I
Say
haven't
the
read the
exec
document, so if you send it to me, maybe I
yeah, I will send it to you. So the executive committee of
yeah,
the
send it to
Liberty
me. Can we
Party
discuss? Uh-huh. Go ahead.
formally announces to the public that it has taken disciplinary actions against two of its National Executive Committee members, Senator Abraham Darius Dillon, Vice Chair for Political and Legislative Affairs, and Mr. Daniel Sando, Vice Chair for Press and Public Affairs for administrative reasons, including making several unauthorized public utterances, making derogatory statements against the chairman and executives of the LP that brought public dispute to the party. So that was the reason they suspended the two of them. And almost same way the last time, when I spoke about this, I said that Dillon, you know, was in error to talk about Musa Hassan Belete the way he did because the late Charles Bronski trusted Musa Belete and made Musa Belete the face of his campaign in 2017. If your political leader, the man you consider to be your political godfather, trusted this chairman, trusted this guy, and made him the face of his campaign, how can you say this man is a BM? This man is a crook? This man is all of the names you call him? How can you say that? And then you want us to believe that you respect your godfather or your former political leader. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, you know? And the language he used, that was not a language for a man like Senator Dillon on his chairman. So I support, even though I'm not a LP partisan, but I support the suspension. And I think Dillon should be should be gracious enough to accept this suspension and served the requirement for this suspension. He should serve the time placed on him according to this release, and then he should be humble enough to respect the decisions that were made by his party and his party executive. He is not above the party. He's not bigger than the party. And I don't have time to speak to the response of Honorable Lawrence in
Okay.
defense of Darius Dillon. I don't have
Darren
time
Dillon.
to mention that.
Okay. Well, that I understand what you're saying, and I think we can talk about it next week. When I've gotten the document, I've read it, and then I'll need to make some calls, understand. Hopefully, we can get a copy of the party's document, their constitution. Uh, uh, you know, or get some, do some research on on some of the actions taken, and then maybe we can we can discuss that into depth. Maybe give it about 15 minutes in our next forum. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, we can do that.
this
I
also
will send it to
says
you.
is that, yeah, what this also says is that no man is an island, and people need to be held accountable. I know that's accountability thing, but by the same token, when you create an institution such as the political party as we know it in Liberia, there's certain things that comes with that political party, with that organization, and there's certain mandate that everyone's being a part of that needs to adhere to. So I would save my comment until I do more research and find out, what's really went on and what have you. But we know that Mr. Ability has his own history too. He's gonna remain friends with him, and we are close friends. They've been friends before he joined the Liberty Party and all that stuff like that. So those are some of the things too that forces
Yeah,
people to make comments. And when he was there talking about he's the chairman for Liberty Party, but that doesn't mean he's not gonna be friends with George Weah. Notably, that's fine. But Liberian politics does not I won't say accept accommodate those kind of things. Because Liberian politics, if you and myself, we're on different political arena, we're enemy now.
yeah.
And that's the mindset.
That's the mindset, and that has to change,
That
because being chairman
that
of a
has to
party
change.
doesn't mean that you have to do away with your friends. Okay, that is your
Exactly.
personal decision.
Exactly.
So the
Yeah.
party shouldn't
Hearing
determine
that,
that, and not because
yeah. Knowing that,
Honorable Ability
yeah.
is friends with President Weah. It doesn't mean he cannot be a good chairman. No, it doesn't mean that. We all are Liberians, and
No,
we should
it doesn't.
accommodate
And those are things
and
that should have
tolerate
been.
each other.
And guess what? And that's why. And guess what? Those are the things that should have been considered before he was elected chairman.
Yeah, I
You know,
I agree with you, but that shouldn't be a yardstick that people are going
those
to
are
use.
things that should have been considered before he was elected, because everybody knew him to be close to and being friend with we are, and you guys stay elected him as chairman, so you
Yeah, but
can't
on
hold
the
that
Sunday,
against
he's
him.
not having a friendship with President Weah. He's not doing it in
No, he's
secret.
not. That's why I agree with you. Yep,
Yeah.
he's not
So I don't
hiding
know why
his
that should be a
friendship.
problem, though.
So if you think he can't be the chairman now that he's chairman and be friends with Judge Weah, you shouldn't have elected him to chairmanship. That
Okay,
should have
well,
come up.
yeah, let him wait until his term
But
is over as
you
chairman,
don't want to do that
and then they can choose another chairman.
after. You
Yeah.
already made a decision that you want to change that.
Well, It was a fascinating discussion today.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Always
I know.
appreciate
I
your
hope I can
talk.
work on my phone because my phone. Yeah, I appreciate you too. My phone keep breaking in and breaking out. Hopefully, it will be better next week.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully. So yeah, let's hope that we unify as Liberians. Let's hope that what bind us together is greater than what divide us. Let's
Yeah,
hope that we can work together to move our country forward, because Liberia depends on every one of us to make it the country it should be,
uh,
not one person.
yeah.
And we should stop looking forward to a savior that can save us from our problems. We can be the solver of our own problems. We can be the best solutions of our problems. No one
Yeah,
person can solve our problems. We have to do it together. And
we
that's
have
why
to
the
do it
scripture
collectively. Yeah,
collectively, that's why the scripture
it has to
commands
be a
us and
collective effort.
encourages us, that we should dwell together in unity, because that's where God bestow his blessings, and that's where he command life forevermore. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you. Thank you today. Any final comment from you?
No, the final comment is that, thank you for the opportunity. It was good to discuss our national security issues and, looking at the presidency and some of the responsibility. Hopefully, we'll come in next time
Right.
and do some civics. And I think that would be good for the listener out there to understand where we're coming from, now that they don't teach civics in schools in Liberia. But I think that prepared me and prepared us for who we are, knowing the responsibility of our various political offices or public offices. That's the better definition. Public offices. The office of president is a public office and it's need to serve the public. That office need to be respected, irrespective of who is there. It need to be respected. That's why everybody pay allegiance to that. Some of the things that we need to understand is that, um, in the past, Liberian presidents have had dominant powers over the other branches. So hopefully, moving forward, that can change. But the conversation today was unique, was great. We hope that the Liberian people will start creating safe communities as well, where we have the children, where the kids can grow up. We're not saying create malicious group or vigilantes, but think first safety when you do your approach, when you try to get your group together. Some of the things we used to do here for Crime Watch is give everybody whistles. As soon as somebody stop banging on somebody's window, they see something going on, the first whistle blows and everybody blows whistle. It stops. It stops. And those are some of the techniques that can be, given that we don't have, what you call it, safety, and the country don't have those logistical supplies. They don't have the capacity for law enforcement to respond. Those are things that they can teach the community. Give the community whistles and just turn your lights on. Blow the whistle. You hear one whistle, everybody stop blowing whistle. Everyone become alert in the community. That way, it deters people from even doing something stupid in that community. That's just one of many recommendations that we can do to prevent crimes in the communities. So those are things, are very simple thing. Giving people whistle and stuff like that would be fine. And I think what they were saying, for once, the IG made reference to the fact that they got taxis and motorcycles with blinking lights, like security cars. He didn't mention the siren on the cars, but he did mention that, and they were trying to confiscate those things from the cars that had them. But what they don't understand too is that they need to go to the Chinese stores. they are the one that bringing those things in, and they need to go to the port authority and really start to inspect those containers of goods that are coming in, and some of those things that are not good for public safety, confiscate them before they're sold in the communities. So that's what I see, and we'll talk about that more as we go forward. But thank you for the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it always. Thank you so much. It
Yeah,
is actually 7 after 7 here in the United States, Eastern time,
yeah.
and 11:07 in Liberia. So we want to bring
Okay.
to an end the podcast. But we look forward talking to you
Yeah.
all again next week by the grace of God. Next week, Saturday,
Yes.
5 p.m. Eastern time and 9 o'clock p.m. in Liberia. Um,
Yeah.
Please, again, your feedback were awesome, were great. Uh, Keep sending us feedbacks as we get better, as we make our platform a better place for us to give information. A lot of people always want to, you know, get the fighting, the drama when things are theatrics. People enjoy them, but that's not what we are here for. We are here to discuss national issues and then put forward recommendations. So that's why the platform was created, and to bring
Yeah.
our pastors and our imams for us to talk about issues together, because we want to move our country forward together. And so, thank you. Please send us your comments. You come across our video, recommend what we can improve. Today we had a little issues with the internet. Hopefully next week it will be better. But thank you so much for following us. We will see you next week, Saturday, by the grace of God. Thank you, man. Bye bye.